She's the best person in currently in the luxury industry that, for what I know, who can really strike the balance between academic and the industry. And she's a great researcher. Every day, as long as she has opportunity, she will have, have her phone and all the tools to do the research in a beautiful retail landscape everywhere she goes. So last week we had a question about the future trends of the luxury industry. I think technology transformation will be one of those. And then Halia actually has conducted really thorough research in Europe and different parts of the world. And so she has the best knowledge. She told me she has more than 100 slides today. So I'm not going to talk more. So I will let her to go through all her beautiful slides and share everything that her research and the practice has, bring us today. So Halia, please, when you're ready.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm always happy to share these beautiful experiences with you, and I'm happy to be with you all today from Paris to Brazil. I'm going to be talking to you about a topic that I adore and I love, which is pop-up retail and pop-up stores. But it's important for us, again, to contextualize this topic in an omni-channel context, because you might be all be working in physical retail or digital retail. So I would like to show you today how pop-up stores integrate within different points of contacts of brands, and then would show you some different examples of these stores and how they can be looking like, developing, or evolving. So I will be starting the first section of the presentation with that introduction to help you understand the context. And then I'm going to be showing you many different examples about different pop-up stores that have been done across the world lately. So please don't hesitate to think of any question that you have, and I hope I will be able to answer that at the end of the session. And I hope that you will enjoy what I'm going to be showing you today. Let me start by sharing my screen. So in 2008, in Europe, we had a major change in retail, which was related to the recession. And this has led many retailers to rethink their ways and rethink how they should represent themselves in the best way possible to excite consumers and to let them come back again and purchase from physical stores. So it was a great moment for us to think how retail was evolving and growing, and how pop-up stores came across the entire system or process of the distribution channels by inventing some kind of experience, or reinventing some kind of experience to re-inject in the retail world or the retail environment some kind of novelty. So we started thinking of many things related to consumer trends and retail trends. But if we come to look at how things were processed, all in all, we come to understand that every time there was something related to a retail trend, it is because consumers have been also asking about it. So let me show you how. Every time marketing and retail changes, consumer behavior changes, and vice versa. And this has started with the concept of the evolution of retail. Actually, retail was evolving because the retail environment needed some kind of change, and because consumers were changing as well. So let me show you some kinds of retail formats that are important to look at when it comes to the retail environment. First of all, and many centuries ago, we started with something called physical retail, and then digital retail. And then we started talking about ephemeral retail and phygital retail. And then we started talking about retail in the metaverse. it's interesting to look at these retail formats and to see how ephemeral retail or pop-up retail integrates a whole system of formats that are available today on the market. Because when we talk about physical retail, we have seen for many, many years an evolution and a mutation in that format, from the pure traditional format to the relational, to the multi-sensory, to theatrical and experiential stores. So we came across many stores that are focusing on product, and today we see that there are many stores that do not sell products, that propose to customers some kind of experience. And then around the years 2000, we saw the growth of digital retail, either about the development of websites that are only informational or transactional or marketing oriented websites such as the funnels. And then we started developing some kind of digital retail format which is related to the virtual store. We said, okay, I want to show my consumer the store that I physically have, but in an online format. And then things started evolving, and we saw that there is a need to have a more agile or transitory form of retail, which is called ephemeral retail. The type of retail that does not last for long. And maybe you know it under the name of pop-up stores, but it would only indicate that is a retail format that exists from time to time or for a short period of time. So ephemeral retail are also physical, digital, or phygital. And this interesting term called phygital comes across many of our discussions today in retail. It means that inside that physical store, we started integrating some digital tools that are more convenient to customers and that make more sense to the retail experience. And then during COVID, everything related to the digital realm developed a lot. And we started seeing lots of e-commerce sites, social media platforms, and applications working together in order to create a better online-offline experience for consumers. And finally, we started looking at different types of retail that are not tangible, such as retail in the metaverse. And we're not going to be taking a lot of time through the metaverse today, but to tell you that through physical retail, we also opened the gate or the possibility for customers to go to another dimension, either through virtual reality or augmented reality. And we will see many examples of pop-up stores integrating those realities within the physical realm. So today, if we're talking about a brand integrating physical, digital, ephemeral, or phygital environment, it is doing so in the best way possible to harmonize and to resolve the problem of siloed types of management. It is trying to create for customers a holistic type of management, integrating digital and physical tools and putting inside many aspects related to the digitalization. And by that, we are seeing a new form of retail, which is very different than the forms that we used to see a couple of decades ago. Mainly, when we started working with retail, we started thinking of concepts that are firsthand. So the brand would produce or conceive some products, produce them, and then sell them in the stores. But just take a minute and think about retail today. Aren't you also seeing lots of second-hand concepts? Aren't you looking at brands that are integrating second-hand or resale items within the stores? Or haven't you seen the number of second-hand stores or thrift stores opening all around the world with beautiful concepts? And this being said, we have seen that with the hybridization of retail, we are also integrating lots of services in the store. So now we can go into a store to purchase fashion items, maybe going to a Zara store, and then having a coffee in that store because they integrated a coffee shop. Or maybe if we're going to a Dior store to purchase our favorite handbag, and then we will take a time to have an afternoon tea in the store. And finally, you have seen that in lots of department stores, we are adding conciergerie services so you can go and repair your sneakers or your handbag or whatever item that you want to repair, because we have integrated that space for you. So it's interesting to see that everything today revolves around the idea of omni-channel contexts, environments in which we are integrating communications, distributions, social media, traditional retail or online retail together to make something beautiful and something unique for you customers. And finally, when we say that we are working in an omni-channel context, it's because we want to give our customers immersive and personalized experiences. Well, all of this is interesting and it only makes sense because retail has been evolving. We have seen its evolvement and evolution from traditional mode, focusing on products and customers and product availability to customers, and then creating relationships, and then saying that we need to provide customers with a sensory experience or to create something immersive for customers to co-create their experience with the brand. And this is only part of what we call a customer-centric approach, which focuses on customer experience and how can brands rethink their ways of providing retail formats that are customer centric and that are hyper personalized. So today, in this concept of moving forward with our retail formats, we have seen that many stores have become digitalized. And this digitalization is allowing customers to integrate more the concept, to engage with the brand, and to be responsible for the co-creation of their own experience. An example of Tommy Hilfiger store. And we also have seen that many brands have decided to remove some sections of their store and like take away the idea of presenting just products for sales, rather creating them the space for customer brand engagement and experience. A brand called Sweaty Betty in the UK have worked on a concept that allocates non-selling areas. Customers can come in, relax a little bit, go do their yoga class, and maybe if they want to purchase, they can do that in a small part of the store or they can do it online. And other brands such as Pepe Jeans are integrating other types of technologies such as these holograms to minimize the use of physical products and to project their collections through the hologram. It all depends on how the brand wants to integrate technology to add value to the customer experience. But these are only examples to show you how we start changing the dynamic of our physical store. And finally, you can see that brands like Nike are working a lot on engaging types of experiences which allow customers to come in with others and play with others, their friends, colleagues, or people that they don't know, and engage with the brand. There is always some kind of reward, either personal or brand oriented, that you can see with these types of experiences. But again, you have noticed that in some of the cases that I have showed you, the product could be the protagonist of the store, and on some other cases and instances there is no mentioning of the product, only the experience, and the product's access would be the result of our experience with the brand. This is very interesting because it will give us an idea of the importance of ephemeral retail and pop-up stores. So I have showed you earlier that pop-up stores are one of the many formats that the brands could have. And it's really interesting that brands today can use these types of stores because they are very modular agile, and they could be integrated in many ways to give a new and unique experience for customers. So let me show you some of the instances related to pop-up stores. It's interesting to see every time we create a pop-up store that we concentrate a lot on aspects related to the sensory experience, the aesthetics, the beautification of the store, and we seldom call them theatrical stores. And another important variable related to pop-up stores is that they are immersive and they are engaging. The most important idea behind the creation, or the objective behind the creation and integration of a pop-up store, is being able to provide customers with an immersive and engaging experience. This being said, today, if you want to think of pop-up stores, you have a multitude of possibilities of creating them, and they go from one side or the other of the spectrum. So pop-up stores could be transactional or event-based. They could sell products or only provide events. They could be product-oriented or social or human-oriented. So you can find product or you can only go and interact with people. They could be done with mass brands or with luxury brands. They could stand alone or integrate other brands. They could be only storytellers, like share information with you or allow you to live a story. Like storytelling and story living means you either allow customers to be very much engaged or less engaged in the experience. And it's important for you to know that whatever type of pop-up store you would like to create, you have to have a clear objective, you have to choose the right location, you have to define the time frame, like 1 hour, 1 day, 3 days, or 1 month, and you have to design it for a specific target audience, and you have to look at it from a seasonal perspective, because every time a pop-up store happens or appears, it should be very much integrated into the natural aspect of the season. And I will be showing you some examples. So whatever decision you take, you have to think about these aspects of pop-up stores. The time frame limitation is really important, because it is during those couple of hours or days or months that you are going to be changing the dynamic of the brand, proposing to your customers something unique, engaging, and immersive that will yield many positive experiences to your customers and hopefully have a positive return on experience for your brand. And if you have seen one other variables that I have added, I have noted that pop-up stores could have different forms or formats. So if you have been used to seeing a boutique on the high street or in a shopping mall, today with pop-up stores, we can experiment different types of formats, such as a kiosk, a hangar, an inflatable balloon, a theater, and an abandoned maybe space, or an development of an unusual space. You can develop pop-up stores in any form and in any format that you want, as long as it serves the purpose of the brand. So I'm going to be showing you today many examples of different types of pop-up stores and how they integrate their different forms or formats through different locations. We don't have a lot of time to pull up the entire list of possibilities, but I have taken the liberty to show you different aspects of pop-up stores for different brands and in different forms of format. So the first section that we will be looking at today is pop-up stores integrating shopping centers or shopping malls. For instance, inside the shopping mall, in the entrance zone at a big hall, we can create a giant claw machine, and we can immerse customers in that big space with lots of colors, and have something playful, something interesting, drawing customers inside the mall. you can see that there is no standardization. The brand will look at the space, will understand the space, and then will create the experience that will meet its objective. Here, clearly, we want customers to come play with us, and we want to let them win something. Another example is Burberry. And you will see that Burberry or many other brands take advantage of mall hallways or department stores to create something unique, either presenting a collection of limited edition, a resort collection, or a specific collection for a country or event, or a collaboration. Here you can see how pop-up stores can also use this idea of aesthetics, of beautification, and then put the product as part of the decor to make the shopping experience or journey more interesting to customers. Another example is an integration of the brand inside the mall. You can see here that with Loro di Palma, the shape has changed and the pop-up store has been integrated under the brand's codes. The idea here is to enclave the customer, to let them go into the space, to show them the collection, because this is something that we want to present. All in all, keeping the brand's identity, the little aspect related to the coziness, you can see that the codes of visual merchandising and merchandising have been very well respected in this pop-up store. Another form could be more interactive, and Coach use a lot of interaction with their pop-up stores. Here, and as opposed to the first couple of brands, the integration of digital tools, such as the picture that you see in the middle, will allow customers to come in and play with the brand. And there has also been many events done by the brand in order to appeal to customers, let them come and engage and live a unique experience. So you can see that pop-up stores could integrate both aspects, either product orientation or event orientation, or mixing a little bit of both. And Coach is an example of mixing a little bit of both. And this is another coach. You can see that they have worked a lot on the aspect of, wow, like this is a small train wagon, and we want customers to come in and experience something new. And here there is a small presentation of products. And as opposed to the first two pictures, you can see that Coach is rather presenting its unique products as if they are items in a museum or in an exhibition that you have to come and look at or discover. And then with Loro di Parma and Burberry, it was more of a presentation of an entire collection with different sizes and styles. So it's interesting to see how each brand develops the concept to meet its objectives. This is a very recent example of a brand called Fred, which is a French brand that opened in Asia. And the brand wants to help customers understand its story, it discovered its collection. So they have created half of the pop-up store to present the collection, and on the other half, they have created some kind of games for customers to come in and learn something unique and why this brand is so different than the others. And now I'm going to show you a series of beauty brands, all of them integrating their pop-up stores inside malls. And if you have noticed that some pop-up integrations within malls are bigger and others are smaller, look at this Clarence example. And there is a clear integration of the eventful, playful side through these games and the product orientation and information through the digital screens sharing info. And look at this other example of Estée Lauder. And Estée Lauder have also decided to integrate online and offline through the work of a filter and application that you can access through your mobile phone when you decide to come to the pop-up and discover the brand and the benefits of the products being advertised. Another example of Dior. And this is more of a classic and cliche type of presentation, right? So it's only product, some kind of information, but without any playful or eventful variable integrated. Another example of Yves Saint Laurent. And at this time, you see that we have integrated a greater technology which assesses our skin and does a self-check for the skin, which helps us understand which type of product we should go to, and then linked to the online website and allows the customer to also have access to info and chat with store associates if they should or need to. And look at Givenchy. Again, integration of online and offline experiences, a smaller shop, more comprehensive product orientation, and as well, the linkage to the online realm for a unique customer and the personalized experience. Another Shiseido, again, online, offline presentation. And a beautiful example of a brand called Anna Sue, who was experimenting in the north of France in a department store. And this department store actually is the first department store in France that welcomes people who are coming from the UK through the Eurostar train. So it has lots of people who are tourists, and they wanted to capture the attention of these people through this pop-up store. And they know that there are lots of foreigners and English people coming in, and they have created this pop-up store to shake a little bit the brand and create more recognition. And you can see it is always aesthetic, playful. There is a use of these sensorial elements such as light, color, and texture to allow customers to come in and play with the brand, because the brand wants to engage, immerse, and live something new. And finally, ports, you can see how it is integrated inside the shopping mall. It's using a combination of the pop-up store integration and on the two pillars side by side of the mall traditional advertising panels, because the brand wants to take advantage of maximizing visibility. And in the pop-up store, there is again this idea of aesthetics. So I think that today.
Ô, Cândida, a gente só precisa, assim, eu preciso só me organizar financeiramente, assim, no sentido, assim, eu sei que a gente precisa ajudar.
Sorry. So you have seen that again. In all of the concepts that I have been showing you, there are unique factors related to design, related to color, sensory marketing, theatrical marketing. And then the things that start changing are the facts of integrating digital tool with the space and allowing customers to take part of the space or just be spectators, come and look at the space. So this is one kind of integration of pop-up stores and all the possibilities that we could have when we integrate a pop-up store within a space that is well-defined. And in our first example, we have seen the shopping mall or department store. I'm going to show you now different kinds of pop-up stores that are kiosks. And kiosks are generally mobile, and they could move from area to area. But it really depends on the country. I know that in the United States and in Brazil, but later on you will give me your feedback, there have been lots of pop-up stores that have been mobile and created to move from area to area. In Europe, we could have some limitations related to having permits of allowing that pop-up store to use to move from one city to the other, or to park in some spaces. But still, it is a nice format. Even if it's smaller, it could be sexier and more appealing to customers. Let me show you some kinds of kiosks. This first one has been done last year in Selfridges in London. And it is Vogue who had created this pop-up, and you can see Anna Wintour posing in front of this kiosk. And it does not feature a lot of Vogues, maybe one of the special editions and the advertised product, but it also distributes flowers and lots of memorabilia, such as the hoodies and shirts. Another example is Prada. And again, with this type of pop-up store, Prada is communicating an idea about launching a product or launching a certain event, but then you would see less and less the attention and focus on the product, but rather on the experience of accessing the product. Look at this format. It's small, it's cute, but still very impactful. And another example of Berluti coming into Paris not so long ago. And inside the garden, which is a very big garden on the outskirts of Paris, it has created this kiosk. I mean, we're not buying any Berluti items. It's just a reminder and the connection between the brand and customers. And the experience was related around coffee. Another example would be mango. And last year, in Spain, they have also integrated many kiosks, and they have collaborated with a brand called Good News Coffee. I don't know if you can see this smiley face here. And Good News Coffee has also expanded a lot in Europe between France and Spain. And Mango has decided to also share the experience of happiness through these kiosks. We're not purchasing any Mango garments or items, but you can see that the brand integrates its identity through its postcards, some kind of elements, some kind of communication tools, and then allowing for the brand to get closer to customers. Another example is the famous Hermes kiosk, which popped up around the world, from Dubai to Beijing to Seoul to France to the States. Like everywhere was receiving these beautiful kiosks. And it's not about purchasing your Kelly handbag, but rather coming closer to Hermes, understanding their history, getting in touch with its team members, and living some kind of experience related to the brand. Okay, so we have seen the mall integration, we have seen the kiosk integration, and it could be outside or inside. We have talked earlier about the importance of seasonal events and pop-up stores, right? And this is a great way for brands to make an impact when they want to present their audiences with a pop-up concept, because seasonality has a great effect. So imagine you're on a skiing station and you're going out for skiing, and you find a brand there telling you a story or communicating a message related to skiing. Or when you're going to the beach as well, it's very hot. You want your customers to come in and have a certain relief before going into the beach or bathing at the swimming pool. So all of these things are important because it means that the brand, again, is being very customer centric. It's thinking like the customer, and it's conceiving or creating that pop-up store to meet the customer needs. Let me show you some examples. A couple of years ago, and it started during COVID, we were talking a lot about health and personal health and happiness, etc. And Hermes has also toured the world, creating something called the Hermes Fit. From New York to London to Paris, it has integrated that concept of gym and promoting the idea of boxing, doing yoga, Pilates, or God knows what, through the Hermes concept. Check it online and check the extent to which these pop-up events have been connected with online communications and the extent to which it has generated a buzz. On the other hand, on a skiing station, Burberry comes and creates that snowy heaven pop-up. It means that Burberry understood that in that location, during that period of time, many consumers and maybe who are affluent enough to purchase Burberry will be there. So we create something unique for them, and we invite them to come and live a unique experience. Another example is the Aspangs creating a snow beach. So again, for the people who like to party and who are spending some kind of weekend in the Alps or in other ski resort stations, we're going to be inviting them to live some kind of experience, but not necessarily selling them products, just sharing a beautiful moment with them. And you can see that there is always a kind of theme related to those pop-ups, and they take the theme all the way from aesthetics, from people, from products or services that they provide. Another example, celebrating another important event. For instance, this year was the Year of the Dragon, and every brand did a certain interpretation that is relevant to its identity. For instance, Fendi has collaborated with Pokemon, and they have created designs related to that seasonal event, and to be able to give customers something unique and to celebrate the uniqueness of the season. And you can see again that they have created some kind of pop-up store that is outside, and in which customers could go in and live this unique moment related to the season, right? The French brand Jacquemus have been really working on its presence around the world through these unique pop-up stores. It is a fashion brand, a premium fashion brand, and every time it pops up, it creates a unique story and celebrates it with customers, whether on the beach, whether in the city, in a mall. It always has something new to offer. I'm going to show you some other examples in a few. Dior and Louis Vuitton are very famous, and Chanel, if I might say, are very famous for creating resort collections and integrating those collections within pop-up stores. For instance, this is a version of Dior at Capri, and you can see how they have transformed the entire space to celebrate the collection, the summer collection. This is the other example of Jacquemus. You have seen earlier how it has created a beachy white effect and this white sand castle. And all of a sudden, when it went to another city, it has changed the feel of the space, because when we pop in a space and through a season, we integrate it in a way that best fits that location, people in there, and the season around us. And this is the beauty of pop-up stores. Another example I wanted to show you is the Yves Saint Laurent station, which was done in the middle of the desert for people who are driving to the Coachella event. And in this beauty station, we can see that Yves Saint Laurent, the chic fashion French brand, has changed identity and suddenly looks like a gas station in the middle of the desert. And you can see that it has taken all of the codes and theatrics of that station to look really relevant and pertinent, and to make sense for people who are going to the event. And there was a sale of beauty products that people can use before going to the event. Okay, now you have seen different styles and different integration of pop-up stores. I want to also show you some standalone pop-up stores, like pop-up stores going into traditional boutiques that you all know of, but still we can see that they will be focusing on the beautiful aspect of their designs. I hope I'm not boring you, but let me show you some examples. So this is a beautiful concept of Michael Kors starting its experience from the outside and then going into inside. And it's a coffee shop kind of experience. You can see that the brand still wants to promote its style of handbag, but coming into the inside, we can get a coffee and a croissant. Nothing to do with the product. And this is really interesting with pop-up stores. And you can see this effect of exterior and interior more pronounced with many brands such as Coach and Louis Vuitton and Dior. And this great example of Coach shows us how aesthetics are still very appealing with pop-up stores. I mean, we cannot create a pop-up store if it's not beautiful and impactful, if it's not going to give us this possibility of pushing customers into standing there and saying, wow, look at this. And I think that when I looked at the pictures of Coach, I said, wow, like this is something really interesting. And when you go into the inside, you also have the entire story and customer journey around the same concept. And which is really interesting in pop-up stores to see is that sometimes we play with the space in a different way than we do when we are presenting a traditional store. In that sense, here we're promoting a Coach bag, but we have changed the size of that bag to make it more impactful. And you can see that the entire space repeats the presentation of that style because the pop-up store is clearly promoting it and wants to clearly send the message to customers. It doesn't end there. We started from the outside. We have seen a unique inside, and we also offer our customers another type of experience that they could live on the rooftop. So you can see how we exploit the entire space when we're doing a pop-up store. These are examples from Paris now. A small boutique, a small pop-up boutique, and you can see how small it is on the storefront here, to promote different kinds of phone cases that you have, like the phone protections, and that you could personalize. It is clearly a way to tell customers, hello, we are here, we are presenting you with something new, come and explore us. Another example from Nowhere, which has worked a lot on the idea of food and integrating it into the concept of sports, like the dumbbells, the boxing gloves, and so on, which is a little bit confusing to consumers, but really interesting, which makes sense in the case of the pop-up store because you want to intrigue, you want to excite and incite customers to come into the pop-up and explore the what's next. You also see with this Valentino, and I'm going to show you more concepts, the importance of color, and again, using the space and playing with dimensions, bigger products, smaller products, an attention on textures, on colors, contrasts, and so on. But all in all, it's always a way to create a wow effect from the moment the customers are in front of the storefront until they go into the store. And this is another pop-up that is clearly product oriented. I mean, you see that in the case of some brands, it's very pure, it's a storytelling, it's a theatrical thing. And maybe in some other kinds of pop-up stores, you could be also facing other instances related to the product because we want to tell you a story, but we also want to sell some kind of product. And this is the example of the Anya Mart. Another type of pop-up works a lot on collaborations. And if you have noticed, many luxury brands have been collaborating or shifting from the presentation of their products to the creation of experiences, especially those related to food and drink. So look how Valentino changes from a greenish feel and to a pinkish, sparkly feel. Every mood is different, but we still have the integration of the Valentino codes in either or. And we have seen many brands going into boutiques and creating these non-product related experiences like Giorgio Armani taking over Paris. And for the Mother's Day, I think presenting a lot of flower bouquets that could be purchased and sold and offered to consumers. And look at how they always work on these types of memorabilia, such as books and postcards, just to allowing customers to take a piece of the brand's home. And the same concept applied to Lego. Look at this beautiful integration outside in, creating this botanical cafe from Lego, respecting the Lego codes, but giving it a different look and feel through this collaboration it has created. And another example now, unifying everything that we have seen from the aesthetics to integration of digital tools outside to the inside, product and cafe or other types of services is Vuitton. And Louis Vuitton has been doing a lot of these pop-up stores to create a unique experience from the moment you go in and explore the brand, its products, and then the services it could offer you. Look at this little persona on the left-hand side of the bottom picture, and I will show you another thing that the brand could do again in the concept of pop-up. But bear with me a little moment. And another integration of Jacquemus, I have showed you earlier 2 different types of pop-ups it has created. And today I can only relate to these types of brands to reinforce the idea that one brand could create different types of formats through pop-up stores, because every time it pops up, it has to tell customers a unique story related to the location, to the season, to the period of time, and the objective it wants to have. It makes sense, right? So everything that I have been telling you earlier would only make sense as we explore a brand's interpretation. And look at this diesel pop-up store, right? Starting from the outside to the inside and creating that wow effect. And Jacquemus, yet this is a 4th example, creating a pop-up store 24 hours that opened for 3 days. And it was located in Paris, then was repeated in Milan. And then the customer could go in, purchase the product, and the number of the box will open. They will take their bag, the box will close again, and you could go out doing a purely self-service checkout through that pop-up. Interesting. And look at this other example of the Lavomatique of Jacquemus. It's crazy how this brand reinvents itself every time with pop-up stores and creating unique experiences to customers. And now I'm going to show you yet another dimension that these stores have taken. And it's interesting to think about the possibilities that brands could have through pop-up stores. If I've shown earlier types of traditional pop-ups, kiosks, or integrations within malls, I can show you how brands also work on exhibitions. And at this point, it would mean that the brand wants to share a story with customers. I think I have mentioned very little anything related to sales or promoting products or collections. We have seen that with pop-up stores, it's all about experience. It's all about giving you something unique that makes sense and to sharing our story with you, and helping you live our story with us. Look at this Tiffany's pop-up exhibition teaming up with an artist called Daniel Arsham. All about storytelling, nothing about a Tiffany product, all about experience, all about the beautification of space. This is another vision thought. And the example of Gucci exhibition, you can see that we are integrating the codes of a classic exhibition and putting the brand and the brand story within those codes. And it's really interesting how brands come to evolve their ways of thinking to fit into that dynamic. An example of Tod's, promoting the idea of their craftsmanship, of their quality, of their savoir-faire, how they do things, how they work on the details. And another example of it. And lately, I think a couple of months ago, Hermès had promoted in Paris. It has opened up its doors to invite people in and show them an exhibition from A to Z on how they create the product, how they cut it, how they sew it, how they make it, how they assemble it, for customers to understand the real value behind the product and why it costs so much. And this is another example of the Swarovski Museum. And I'm showing you in this picture another example of a pop-up integration that was done parallel to that exhibition. And this is a third example from another country. Interesting, because in the case of Swarovski, these are the same codes that we want to use side by side when we are creating the exhibition, and allowing you from one end to look at the product story and from the other end to go and experience it and maybe purchase it. And this was a beautiful, absolutely beautiful pop-up store that was done around Christmas last year. And I had the chance to go and see it, which was the Grand Numéro de Chanel. And it was a big carousel that was done for a week in Paris, allowing customers to go live in the story of the perfume. Not see the perfume, but just imagine the perfume on a big scene and you living it inside it. It was amazing. And another famous example, I believe that most of you have seen, that was done in 2017 by Hermès, which is the Lavomatique, allowing customers to come in with their carré, like the silk the silk product that they have, and then change its color, like give it a new life. And I want to show you also, and I think we're close to a couple of more examples, the outdoor pop-up stores. Outdoor pop-up stores are coming more and more into the strategies, the communications and distribution strategies of the brand. Remember earlier when I showed you the Louis Vuitton example, I told you, like, be careful. Remember this little persona, because you're going to see how Louis Vuitton has used it. Not so long ago in Dubai, they have integrated on the outside different big pop-ups of Louis Vuitton, and they really have taken over the space. And these are 6-meter long personas that you can encounter on the outside, and people could scan some codes and also gain access to an online realm and discover more information about the brand. But it's interesting to see how brands also integrate the notion of creating a buzz, arousing a curiosity, allowing customers to say, okay, what's next? And then moving them into a pop-up store or pop-up exhibition, and then introducing them to a product or a special edition before inviting them to do a certain sale. And they have taken also this level to a greater extent of creating these big structures that could be seen from up above and that are really inviting. This is an example of the North Face installation, and you can see that customers could go in and just like play inside the installation. Coach has done a similar thing with an inflatable bag last year in Covent Garden in London. So there are many concepts around that. This is another example that I want to show you. Simpler maybe, that Kate Spade has done, like presenting an installation on the outside and inviting people to go towards the pop-up, which is not far from the installation. Dr. Martens, another storyteller, a kiosk on the outside, a big structure, unique structure, and then inviting in people to look at a certain exhibition, a timeline, and then doing a party with the brand. This idea of partying with the brand and inviting customers in has been also very famous. In 2015, for instance, Converse has done a party inside the hangar in the Beirut industrial area, and it was really interesting at the time. Oh, another example that I show you here is Pandora in London. Maybe Kelly has have had the opportunity to visit it. I didn't, but I hear that it was a success. And it integrates online and offline. And this is another Marc Jacobs. And you can see again the outside installation, the outdoors idea, and the indoors. And Adidas going the extra mile, playing with customers, like occupying a bigger outside environment before allowing people to go into the space. And this is another L'Occitane example. Simpler, but yet could be impactful. And if you see how Max Mara has also started, you can like sneak a peek from the window, creating an experience from the outside and drawing people into the inside. And each time there's this uniqueness related to space and the visual representation. And look at Lululemon and Jeremyville. And they have also worked on this idea of big pop-up installations leading to a pop-up store to help people discover the idea behind it. Look at Valentino. And I have showed you different formats that they have taken, either in a kiosk form, either in a traditional store or standalone, and here an outdoor installation, like taking over the space before allowing people to come in. And this is another example, right? And Dior, again, going in with all of its beautiful potential, creating something unique and allowing customers to come in and engage and discover what this installation is all about. Another example of Burberry mixing this idea of luxury from the outside and a lot of sorry, a lot of Americanized concepts from the inside. And it's clear because there is a collaboration between Burberry and Morrison's Cafe. They have to merge the two identities together, and this was the result. I would also like to tell you that many brands today are online brands, right? And online brands have had no way to test their concepts in a physical store directly because retail has become very expensive. So they said, okay, pop-up stores are a unique way to do it. And let us just test if it works for us to be physical before investing in a physical space. So there are lots of digital native vertical brands that go into pop-up stores. And let me show you some concepts. We're not going to dwell on them, such as booking.com, creating a physical concept to explain the concept of booking to their customers. And it's using the codes of the brand. And eBay, creating also a physical store and relating it to the digital realm to offer customers a unique experience. But you have to reserve your slot before going into the physical store. And Amazon has decided to work on a second-hand concept through a physical pop-up, which was also good because they popped up during Christmas period for people to come in and purchase some gifts for their beloved ones. And I think that it's important also for you to see that pop-up stores are taking advantage of travel retail. Today, it's a great opportunity for people going on vacations or going through other business trips to catch them in the right moment, either in the airport or before the gate, and just telling them about some story or some brand or some product that we are creating. Surely in an airport, things are more restricted because we have space restrictions and lots of safety restrictions. But still, we can do some ideas that are innovative. This is the example of Toblerone chocolate. Another example of Godiva chocolate and coffee shop that were done side by side. And some kinds of examples of travel exclusives of spirits products such as Veuve Clicquot and Moët and Chandon. And I recently saw that Campari, another spirits brand, have opened up a pop-up store at the Nice airport because of the Cannes Festival. So it's interesting to see how brands come across specific events to just pop in and create something unique. I think that I gave you a good idea about many types of possibilities that brands could adopt before creating their pop-up stores, and I hope that this was interesting for you. Before concluding, I just want to tell you that these examples are just some examples. You have many possibilities or many ways for creating pop-up stores. You name it. Seasonal events, specific events, shopping malls, department stores, concession or store-in-store, exhibitions, museums, kiosks, outdoors, online, metaverse, you name it. I mean, there is no list that is long enough for you to think about when creating pop-up stores. It's really important for you to know that this is a very agile tool, and it really helps you when you need to create something unique and different for your brand. It's conditional to having a clear objective and relevant to location, a defined time frame, and a unique target audience to whom you're communicating to, because your pop-up store needs to make sense. And I believe that we have come across the last slide of this presentation. I hope that I managed to tell you the bigger picture about the importance of pop-up stores, this beautiful retail trend, and how it integrates the brand's distribution and communication strategy through this omni-channel context. If you need to know more about pop-up store or have any questions later on, don't hesitate to connect, and we will take the conversation maybe on LinkedIn or other social platforms. And I hope that you enjoyed and will be ready for your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Halia. I highly recommend these books that Halia produced, and they're really easy read and really transformative understanding of the modern retail landscape. I think there was a question actually in the chat box. I don't read Portuguese, but I use Google Translate, which I think is a really, really good questions. Maybe is from Liz K. So I read out the translation. Correct me if it's wrong. Have all these concepts been applied in real life, or are they just 3D models? I found the concepts and image amazing, but I've never seen anyone visit these places, film, and reports the experience. Bracket, and according to the captions, a large majority are just in China. Now, I'm pretty sure they're all the real stores, but I'll leave that to Halia to confirm. But
Yes.
then later I can probably explain why a lot of the pop-ups are actually in China, because there's a reason for that. But yes, Halia, I'm pretty sure you probably visit a lot of them as well.
Yes, I did visit a lot of them. Thank you for your question. Actually, I think today it could be a very legitimate question, because we have seen many people on LinkedIn or on social media creating or generating store concepts on AI. But I assure you that the concepts that I have used today in this presentation are real concepts, either done in Europe or in Asia or China. And it's true, yes, because we have seen a great activity related to pop-up stores on that side of the world, and Kelly will tell us why. And as much as I can tell you that in Europe, maybe in France, if I'm closer to the French or Parisian pop-up stores, brands have been really active in creating pop-up stores. I have showed you many examples from the French capital, such as the Armani flower boutique or the Jacquemus concepts that happen on the beach side, on the Mediterranean, or on the Côte, or in Paris. But it's interesting to see that the greater investments in terms of beautiful, bigger, and more elaborative pop-up stores are happening today in China. Those that we are seeing in France and in England tend to be smaller and with smaller engagement opportunities. And this is due to the budgets and many restrictions that Europe could be putting on retailers and brands when they are creating pop-up stores. I hope this answers your question.
Yeah.
And Kelly, tell us why China?
By
Why
China.
Asia?
Yeah, well, now obviously China is one of the biggest emerging luxury market that luxury brands want to engage, particularly with the younger Gen Z consumers, generation. The thing is, one characteristic of this generation of consumer, they want something fun and quick. And yes, because China has a big space and usually allows a temporary installation for the luxury brands to have the space and to bring something more eventful, and therefore they go for it. One thing last week I mentioned, I think luxury brands now try to move from storytelling to story living. So how to really have an event or have something marketing and to make the consumer feel engaging at the same time, living within the story. And I think pop-up stores actually gives this advantage opportunity for brands to fulfill that short period dream, to allow the consumer to have the moment that living within the brand. And the other thing is, I think the young consumers in China or in East Asia, to be honest, they love luxury brand, but how many of them really can afford to go into the store, really afford a piece of a object from the luxury brand is still quite, it's not a large majority. But if in the pop-up store, if they can have a cafe selling the cakes, have a bubble teas, they can just go in, queue, and take a selfie holding the cup with a logo.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the effect achieved because brands just want to engage with these consumers, not necessary to make them buy. Maybe in the near future they will, but they have to start early to convert these young consumers. So I
Exactly.
think that's adding to why in China is so popular. But yeah, I hope that's also answered the questions. I think we have Camila raise her hands. Then we have yeah, we have other questions. But Camila, maybe you can unmute yourself, ask your question first.
Yeah. Hello, Galia. Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. It's amazing, amazing. I really appreciate all the examples and the brandings. It's amazing for me. And I work in Brazil with events, in a global events, and with a lot of brandings also. I have my opinion, but I would like to know your opinion about what is going on here. As you are showing us that all the brandings are working together, like co-brandings in like coffee with branding, and this happens here in Brazil with events also. And normally they are like you have one big event and you have a lot of brandings with a lot of experience inside, and it was this was happening here also. But I think that we have one difficult thing when you are thinking about consumer. Like you have the online client, and you have the offline client, like the so I don't know. We are now here in Brazil doing different dates with type of different clients because you don't speak about that, but I would like to appreciate if you can explain more. Because what happens here is that we are doing some, like I work for, one example, Facebook, and I have a corporate event for the clients, corporates, and then I have Metaverso, and I have a different event for Metaverso clients, and I have a lot of different clients in the same
Umbrella of brands, the same brand
yeah,
hub. Yeah.
but with a different clients, because happens with all the things that you are explaining about the consumer, about we don't have. So tell me what's going on in Europe, in your experience, and tell me about how the customer was changing, like with the brandings.
Thank you for that, and it's a very legitimate question. I think I mentioned it earlier, but it always takes part of the conversation by saying when we're creating pop-up stores, we look a lot at the audience. And another thing is that with pop-up stores, we can create different concepts to talk to different audiences. So I'm going to complete a little bit what Kelly was saying and maybe answer your question. Today, it's important to talk about hyper-personalization and personalization, not only in terms of offering products that are personalized, but also experiences that are personalized. And brands are becoming to think, as you have thought anyway, that we cannot speak to everyone in the same language. Even if they know the brand and they like the brand, there are different levels of audiences that we have to address differently. Some are trying to know the brand, some others are intrigued, and some others are already loyal to the brand. So we cannot put those people together because there might be discrepancies in terms of their experimentation and experience at the same time. Therefore, we start looking at different types of experiences through different types of instances. First of all, if we want customers who like the brand but cannot afford it, we say, okay, you cannot afford a Chanel bag, but you can afford a Chanel coffee. I'm creating a pop-up store. Come, live your experience. But then this young consumer, or maybe new consumer that we are trying to get in, needs some kind of education to learn about the brand and maybe see the value and hopefully become a loyal one. So we would do another type of event. You liked our coffee, now come live our exhibition, see how we make our products, and then if you like it, just buy the low end line. And then maybe with the next pop-up, we'd go into another storytelling or living, and we will move you. It will take a couple of maybe years or months or a longer time, but it's important to see that the brand is still very true to its identity, but it's trying to speak to different people in different languages. And through pop-up stores, if I might contextualize at this point, we say that every event that we create would serve a clear objective. Who am I talking to? What am I going to achieve by then? And it's interesting to say at the end, and I've seen a little comment, do we always measure pop-up stores' success in a way or another? We can never know that. It's very difficult. However, we can start looking at a holistic type of measurement, which is the return on experience. Because if I induced some kind of action through pop-up stores, I might see the reaction either online or through reservation or through sales, and I will start picking up all those bits and pieces and calculate the holistic effect that has been created. Because if you remember the first opening slide, I have talked about pop-up stores as being part of an omni-channel context. Today, it's becoming more difficult for us to make sense of what we're doing because there are many things that we're doing. The only thing that we can do is follow a unique line and make sure that it always stays under the guidelines of the brand, and we will try to, as much as we can, dissect our calculations and put them together to see if it makes sense to us. And with pop-up stores, it cannot be different than that, because the format itself is very agile, it's changing, and every time, if I've showed you all of these different examples, it means that I don't have one single metric that I can use to follow and measure them, because some of them are product oriented, others are events oriented, some of them are just storytellers, and so on and so forth. I hope I answered your question, Camilla. Perfect, thank you. Kelly, yes? Then,
Flavio, I think Flavio asked something.
Yes, Kelly and Halia, we have a question from our offline audience here.
Oh, okay.
Hi, I want to know if there is any pop-up store to service to engage clients like health clients, to somehow engage clients to bring them to the brands and consume, make an appointment and etc. I see a lot of products or consume any of things. So to service has anything?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I don't have a brand in mind, but I know because I work a lot with consumer products. My examples would always have the tendency to be consumer oriented and product oriented. But there are lots of brands, as I showed you a couple of examples from online brands such as Booking or Airbnb that has done pop-up stores. There were many examples related to the Red Cross or non-organization services creating pop-up stores to tell a story, explain about activities that had been done, and hoping that people would come in and give some money to support a cause and so on. And there are many banks such as HSBC who has done many pop-up stores and actually used them through their strategy, because when they started closing many of their physical formats, and since online banking has become the it thing in Europe, at least between France and the UK, online banking is the new reality. We don't go a lot to the physical bank. So these types of pop-up stores are just there to come and meet the audiences from time to time to create some reassurance, maybe recruit some new customers. And if the customer, new or old, required some kind of assistance, it can come and access that information through pop-up stores. So if today you're working in any industry like health, assurance, insurance, and you name it, you can always do a pop-up store. The idea behind it is not just popping into pop-up. You have to have that clear objective. Why am I today meeting my customer physically? And what do I want him to do? Do I want to inform him and then I would like him to take action? Or I want to sell him something, or I want to explain something, or I just want to play with them and then see where this leads. You know, you have to have a clear objective, because at the end of the day, you're putting effort, time, and money to create that pop-up store. So what is the finality of all of your actions, and what would you like to achieve? And finally, if I might say, if you're working with very specific products, service-oriented or health, let's say, product, where do you want to go and meet your customers? Is it inside the mall, or in the parking of the hospital, or next to the pharmacy? I mean, you have to be very, very, very logical in the choices that you're going to make, because the pop-up store should be a continuity of the customer's natural journey and natural ways of doing things. So it just has to happen there, and it has to be very natural for you to be making much impact in this introduction. I hope it makes sense to you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Perguntas?
Apresentação não faz bem.
Vou explicar, depende do consentimento deles. Perguntas? We have a question from Kyle from the online audience. He's asking if you could give us an overview, Galia, from the North American market, where you have some information on this.
Another example from the North American market?
Yes, is there a trend for pop-up stores in North America too?
Yes, in North America, in the US, very much developed in the US. Brands like Nike, Adidas, like Benefit, the North Face do a lot of pop-ups in the US across the states. Of course, and naturally, like Chicago, LA, New York remain like the top cities. And then a little bit less present and developed as the US, you could find some in Canada, in Montreal or in Toronto. But in terms of quality, and if I might say, if we're comparing apple to apple, they might be smaller in size and with smaller investments, but still the market is getting used to that uniqueness. And the pop-ups that have been created in Canada, for instance, were much collective pop-up stores, meaning the municipality would offer a big space and someone would come and manage that space into getting as much entrepreneurial or startup brands in that space, and then they would collaborate together into proposing or educating customers about their products, but they would be more leaning towards being sales-oriented pop-up stores, whereas in the United States you have more experiential types of pop-up stores. I have showed you earlier the example of Yves Saint Laurent going to the United States for the Coachella event. It means that also brands from Europe are seeing the opportunity of going to the US and offering something new and unique. So it's really interesting to look at these things and later on to see how across continents brands would change and what they would be adding as a unique value through their pop-up interpretation. I hope this answers your question as well.
Yes, very much, pretty much.
Thank you.
I have a question. The pop-up stores a lot about experience and sensations and sensory marketing, and also design plays an important role on all of this. Do you see pop-up stores as a trend, as a huge trend, as something that came to stay in the near future or in the long future? How do you see pop-up stores as a marketing strategy for companies?
So when I was 25 years old, so 20 years ago, I started studying pop-up stores, and it was like the new thing in retail, and we thought that it was a trend. But when I started studying pop-up stores, when I started creating or collecting my literature review, I learned that pop-up stores started in 1991 and then took a little bit of attention around 2003, 2004, and then pop in 2008 we have seen like great attention and shift towards the integration of pop-up stores. And here we are in 2024 and still working with pop-up stores, and we have seen how this format has come a long way. It has evolved, and it has been evolving with all the changes that have been happening in the retail environment. 20 years ago, pop-up stores were very much aesthetic but product oriented, and we have seen that today they integrate a lot of digital tools. They are becoming very much phygital themselves. There are online pop-up stores. There are pop-up stores that are physical and that take customers or give them the opportunity to go towards the metaverse. And finally, we have seen that pop-up stores are now taking greater forms than mere sales formats. They have become exhibitions, parties, coffee shops, etc. And it means that this format is very much agile and could be modulated. Its shape would change as much as the environment would need to. And I believe this is the most important factor that keeping pop-up stores alive and allowing them to be as healthy and as natural in their environment as it could be. So in my opinion, and hopefully it will be that, I believe that pop-up stores are here to stay, and it's not only a trend, because we have seen many trends in retail come and go, but if something has been there for the past 20 years, it means that it has a potential, and if it's growing, then it will continue to grow. So I hope this answers your question somehow.
Yes, pretty much.
Thank you.
Alia, you are, oh, sorry, Laris Mila. You have a question, please, Laris.
Hi, Galia. How are
Hi.
you?
Fine.
Galia, where can we find more of you after today?
Everywhere. I think on LinkedIn, I'm pretty much present, and I have most of the links towards the publications, my podcast, and the YouTube channel there. So I think it's a good start, and it will give you a good idea on the things I do and take you towards the publications that I contribute with or the books that have been published.
Thank you so much, really.
Thank you.
It was very much appreciated. I believe someone asked for your book titles. So
Okay,
don't forget
I will reshare the link in the chat in a minute, of course. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken.
Halia,
Yes.
Halia, as you are also a PhD, of course,
Yes.
from Bonn, University of Paris. Am I right?
Yes. So
as a researcher too, and a professional and practitioner from luxury marketing and retail, how do you see the interplay of science and research with the specific subject of pop-up stores? Is there a kind of academic interest on this topic? I saw the smile from Kelly. I saw you smiling.
So I have been working in retail since a very young age. It was something that was of interest to me because I come from a country who has lived many civil wars, but still has managed to be very a good recipient of new retail concepts. And then this was intriguing for me, and I started working for a big holding company in retail for who holds Inditex Group and many French brands. And this was my major eye-opener on retail. But then I decided to ask more questions. It was always something intriguing for me, like, okay, what if? And why are we doing this? And why aren't we doing that? And 20 years ago, retail was very much formatted. I mean, these are the codes. We do this. We don't ask any questions. And things started moving a little bit faster. And then I decided that asking questions could be a good thing if I go also and evolve in academics. So I started to research schools, and I went to London to do my master's degree. And my thesis was on pop-up stores as entrepreneurial ventures, because I thought that pop-up stores could help entrepreneurs launch their brands. So this was the first question I asked. But then I said, okay, there's a lot of potential. Let me maybe get some more answers around the legitimacy of this format. This is when I decided to do my PhD on pop-up stores. So I said, okay, pop-up stores are good. And if we're talking about beautiful store environments, how are the store atmospheres of pop-up stores influencing consumer behaviors? And it was the first big question I asked. And then I had the opportunity to publish a couple of books on the topic, which helped me even get more immersed in the topic. And then whenever I had the chance to go and present in conferences, it was also a good way for me to relate what I saw on the market during that period of time and how I could transform it into an academic question. And then this evolved to also ask another question. I mean, if we are talking about different types of pop-ups that are more transactional or more experiential, how does the experience change in the one or the other? And is the atmosphere also responsible for generating those different types of experiences? And these are many other questions that I raised, and I hope to answer through many publications that I have put forward. Unfortunately, today, I'm still a professional, so I always have the restriction of time. So when I have time, I do research. And when I don't have a lot of time, it's also a little handicap for me. But I always pay a lot of interest and attention to how this topic is evolving and try to contribute some kind of written work about it.
I think Halia is too humble to say she's a still professional. She's also very good academic, and because for 4 years, Halia has been presenting lectures to our cohort, and every year the pop-up stores and digital stores are her talk really influenced a lot of our students and many universities where she present her talk. Halia also has some really good academic paper published. At the very beginning, I said she's one of the few people who I know who actually excel in both academic and industry within the luxury fields because
não sai diferente. Às vezes, por exemplo, um está dando Prof metade para um, metade para outro, e a calça para outro, aí quando vai montar o conjunto, até montar aquela peça certinha, caos.
Uma primeira visão, talvez
seu áudio está aberto.
I believe
Eu discordo, porque eles não costumam a mesma pessoa que costura o corte inteiro. Ela talvez não saiba disso, mas uma pessoa, cada um costura um. Então, às vezes, dividir corte e cedas é bom, sim. Às vezes tem que ver o risco. Quer assumir de atrasar ou assumir de
I believe you can mute them because you are the host,
Não é?
right?
Agora tá aqui, tá aqui.
Pronto, foi.
Sorry.
That's all right. Halia and I always thought maybe we should actually take some lessons about Portuguese so we could understand all the stories behind. Never mind. What I say is because I'm glad that Halia today actually work in the industry, but with an academic mindset, because a lot of the academic produced work can only be achieved or been attained by academic lecturers or students. They're not always available to the industry. And it's also the same. Lots of good report or practice, been done by the industry people. They don't usually share with academic. But Halia actually managed to really the bridge to bring the two sides and, knowing each other's story. So that's why I'm very grateful for what she has helped, supported our cohort. And that's why when Flavio and I talking about to present some guest talks, and I think Halia must be here to share her thought, her research, and her experience. So look at all the chat. With some I have to translate using Google Chat. I'm glad to see a lot of people enjoy the talk. So thank you, Halia.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I hope again that this has been beneficial. We would never stop talking about pop-up stores. There are always so many things to say, but it's always a good opportunity if you go for you to go and read what have been said about the topic. So thank you again for having me, and I hope you enjoyed this topic.
Alia, thank you so much for your wisdom and your knowledge. I hope your books might have a good upsurge in Brazil, in sales in Brazil after this presentation. So rich presentation for us. It was a good topic, a very hot topic for us to take, to be in touch with these topics. And I don't know how to thank you for your presentation. Again, if you came to Brazil, please let us know.
Of course, it would be a pleasure, of course. And thank you for having me on, for having taken the time to listen to me today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kelly, I also don't know how to thank you again. You are putting in a great effort to put these things here with us, with SPM classmates and students and community. I don't know how to thank you. It was very, very interesting workshop and lecture. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. There's many more to come. After now, both our university have formed a really good relationship. So I'm sure under the new MOU, we can do a lot of collaboration. So, just a reminder, next week we have the final one from another guest speaker, and the treat is he can speak Portuguese. The presentation will be in English, but the Q&A possibly in Portuguese. So hopefully there will be involve more conversations. But yes, I'm sure Flavio already shared the information. So I look forward to seeing you all next week. And thank you, Halia. Have a lovely, lovely evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Flavio. Bye.
Valeu.
Bye.
Para quem está online, quem está presencial, eu vou colocar então a apresentação com o código de barra
Já consigo por aqui.
para a presença. A apresentação foi gravada, a gente precisa pegar as autorizações deles para poder disponibilizar. Tá? Então, assim que eles se autorizarem, a gente vai estar disponibilizando por e-mail para todo mundo, tá bom?
Sim.
E semana que vem a próxima apresentação.